Today we're going to be making this incredibly simple and sturdy wine tote. And this is ideal for those 750 milliliter bottles. And for this wine tote, we're going to be working with the Lion brand yarns Re-Up Recycled Cotton and Polyester Blend. And this is a size 4 medium weight yarn. And the colors I'm working with are Full Moon and Mineral Springs. We'll also be using a size G or 6 or 4 1/4 of a millimeter crochet hook. And you're also going to want to have a stitch marker or scrap piece of yarn nearby. So we're going to begin by attaching the yarn to our crochet hook using a slip knot. And then we're just going to start to place a lot of chains. I usually just chain about 50 or so at a time. And once you have a long chain rope, then you're just going to pull out your yarn nice and long and remove your crochet hook. And with your next color, we're going to create a magic circle. So we're going to drape our tail over our working yarn and pinch that intersection. And then we're just going to yarn over and pull up through. So I like to pinch this little intersection here, and we're going to grab the end of our chain rope, and we're going to insert our crochet hook in our very first chain. So now that you've inserted your crochet hook in your first chain, you're just going to yarn over and drop all the loops on your crochet hook and then chain 1. So from here, we're going to place 6 single crochets inside of our magic circle, as well as over our chain rope. And you want to keep these single crochets relatively tight. And once you have your 6 single crochets in place, then you're going to pull on your tail to tighten the gap in your magic circle. And from here, we're going to begin a continuous loop pattern. So we're going to skip our chain 1 and diving right into our first single crochet, making sure we're still working over our chain rope. We're going to place 2 single crochets. And we're going to slide our crochet hook out and insert it in that first single crochet of the 2 we just placed, and we're going to place a stitch marker here. And the pattern for the rest of the row is just going to be to place 2 single crochets in each stitch in our row, going all the way around until we meet back up with our stitch marker. So we should have a total of 12 single crochets when we're done. And when you make it back around to your stitch marker, you're going to go ahead and remove it. And the pattern for this row is going to be to place 1 single crochet in your first stitch and then 2 single crochets in your second stitch. And you're just going to alternate between placing 1 and 2 single crochets going all the way around the row. And when you get done, you should have a total of 18 single crochets. And don't forget to mark the first stitch of this row with your stitch marker. And at the end of your row, you're going to remove your stitch marker, and the pattern for our next row is to place 1 single crochet in your first 2 stitches and then 2 single crochets in your third. And don't forget to mark that first stitch. You're just going to repeat that pattern going all the way around your row, and when you get done, you should have a total of 24 single crochets. And the pattern for our next row is to place 1 single crochet in our first 3 stitches and then 2 single crochets in our fourth. And we're going to repeat that going around our row, and when we get done, we should have a total of 30 single crochets. And for our next row, we're going to place 1 single crochet in our first 4 stitches and then 2 single crochets in our 5th. And we're going to repeat that pattern going all the way around our row, and when we get done, we should have a total of 36 single crochets. And that was our last row of increasing. So from here, you don't need to keep up with the first stitch in every row. What we're going to do is just place 1 single crochet in each stitch in each of our rows, and this will create a sort of spiral pattern. So we're going to repeat this until we built the body of our wine tote. And I added 29 rows of my single crochet stitch. So from here, we're going to create our handles, and we're going to do that by placing single crochets over our chain without attaching them to our body of our wine tote. So we're going to place 9 single crochets over our chain just like this. So you're basically just working in that gap between the chain and your wine tote. And now we're going to skip 9 stitches. And in our 10th stitch, we're just going to repeat our single crochet process, making sure we work over our chain as well. And we're going to place 1 single crochet in our next 8 stitches so that we have a total of 9 single crochets here. And once you have your 9 single crochets, then you're just going to repeat the process of placing your 9 single crochets over your chain on this side. And once you have your 9 single crochets, then you're going to skip 9 stitches again. And again, in your 10th stitch, you're just going to place your single crochet over your chain and in that 10th stitch. And from here, we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of these stitches between our handles. So we should have a total of 9 single crochets when we're done. And after working your 9 single crochets, you can see that we have 2 handles already formed here. So now all we're going to do is follow the same continuous loop pattern of placing 1 single crochet in each stitch in our row, going all the way around for multiple rows. So you're just going to work over your handles seamlessly like this. I crocheted 4 rows on top of my initial handle row here, and I'm ending my row somewhere between my second and my first handle, just trying to align that with the center there. So to finish off our wine tote, what we're going to do is push our secondary color to the side and insert our crochet hook up underneath our next stitch. And we're going to yarn over and pull through for a slip stitch, just like that. From here, I want you to pull out the chains in your secondary color until you have just one little loop sticking out. And you're going to insert your crochet hook in that loop. And we're just going to pull through our first primary color like that, so that we're now working with our secondary color. And we're going to place a slip stitch in our following stitch like this. And then we're going to chain 1. And from here, I want you to turn your work around. So now you should be working in the opposite direction that you've been crocheting this entire time. And we're going to insert our crochet hook up underneath our last single crochet stitch, and we're going to place a single crochet there. Then working in this same direction, we're just going to place 1 single crochet in each stitch in our row. And at the end of your row, you're going to skip your slip stitch and your chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch into your first single crochet. And from here, we're going to cut and tie off our yarn. And I am going to tie my two ending tails together and then hide them down the inside of the wine tote. And you want to make sure that you don't tie them too tightly, otherwise you'll create a ridge. And after inserting your wine bottle, your tote should look something like this. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Crochet with Julie. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.